What's up, JB? Your mic is muted on the desktop.
Good night, folks. Good night. You know it is. Jared Best Michelle.
Lyndon Braffett, sales as a
As a profession.
profession.
But we always like to bring our little special guest. It's your turn, buddy.
Linking Live with Lyndon and Jared. Don't forget yellow.
Yes. Thank you, Zoe. So what up, folks? Good night, good night, good night.
Good night, everybody.
How's your week been so far, brother? All is well?
My week has been really interesting, bro. Learned a lot. You know, they say to teach us to learn twice.
Agreed.
So, yeah, to teach us to learn twice. So I learned a lot over these last 3 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, an engagement wraps up tomorrow, but I leave with so much more knowledge.
My biggest takeaway. Ooh, we should write that down. I can't give away that takeaway. Hold on. Because that one I need to leave. But that day is part of the lesson. Hi Sage, good night. Good night to everybody on LinkedIn. Let us know where you're coming in from. Hey Lisa Marie, how are you? Right? But the biggest lesson I'll say my biggest lesson is two. It's knowing when to walk away when it doesn't make sense.
Mm,
I had to pause a
right.
training with client, like
Oh,
I
wow.
would say we had like 5 modules. I did 4 of them, like
Mm,
3 or 4.
right.
And it was in the last session I was telling you where I was asking the team certain things and like a big red flag came up. Big.
Came up. Yeah, yeah,
So which is one of the topics. So tell us where you're coming from tonight. As you see the topic at the top, we are talking about mistakes that new sales reps make. It's something that happens to us all the time. Lyndon and I have gone through it. I don't know if you want to take it first, buddy, since it's um
yeah.
it
Oh,
is
I get one.
your
Yeah,
topic.
yeah, that's all right, bro. So as you know, Jared and I, we're always triggered by things that we see coming up in the industry. So as we deal with people and we see things come up, we like to try to address them um, one time. So we've been working with a number of different organizations separately, but I just couldn't help but recognize a couple common mistakes new sales reps, and I'll also say this to Jared, but I know we're leveraging any new that some mature or seasoned sales reps are making
That's right.
in their sales. And the first one I will say, I have one here, is that they are trying to sell to everyone, right? And
Ooh.
what we could do too is because I know we're taking notes, so as we highlight the problem, we'll also think of we'll also maybe input what the solution is, maybe a short thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a
So
short
yeah,
one. I mean, if you don't know why it shouldn't be selling to everybody, you definitely need some help ASAP.
yes, yes, yes. So yeah, one of the big things now, I can understand that when you're coming in as a new rep, so we're talking new reps here, folks. When you're coming in as a new rep, yes, you're all enthusiastic and everything else. However, your onboarding from your existing, so from your employers, from your staff, your manager, and everything else, they should be giving you a list of the customers who are best suited for their products or services. Let me just say that again.
Hmm.
They should be giving you a list. So, and even if you are coming in as an account manager, um, they should be giving you a list of customers who they want to have targeted that are best suited for their product, service, or solutions. And you can break that down however. I wouldn't go into how you want to break that down now, but really, trying to
Agreed.
sell to everybody is a big one that I have on the list here because it wastes a lot of time. And it's. I mean, I think some people are too seasoned in the game, especially managers, to allow reps to be making them kind of mistakes.
Agreed. So good night, Grace. Good night, Tracy. I know all is well on your end. Um, Lasana say he knows we in the Caribbean because he hearing the crickets and stuff chirping. That's the audience. That's the audience, folks. It's the audience.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, it's that.
Here's my own, and this is based on the clients and everything that happened this week.
Mhm.
A mistake that rookie sales reps do is that they don't believe in what they sell.
Oh,
Not only don't they believe in what they sell, it's
mm,
a double belief where
right.
they don't believe it for themselves, but they also don't believe that it helps customers.
Oh, wow. Right. So they,
So
them, they, they themselves are seeing the value to really explain the value to customers. That's what you're saying
yeah, and they
there.
don't think customers should be spending money. They just took the job for taking the job's sake. That is
Yeah.
a big mistake to make if you're in sales. What else
Right.
you have up? So here's the thing. If that's how you feel about the current job that you have, trust me, folks, find a new job. It's not gonna make sense. You're gonna actually not sell. You're gonna be miserable. Trust me, find another job. It's well worth it.
Yes.
You're just staying in something that's miserable.
Yeah. So
What's your other point, Steve?
good night, Tracy. So my other point is thinking price is the answer. You know.
Woo!
Yeah. So they always think that price is the solution or price is the answer for everything, and that is not the case, folks.
Discounting.
Yeah. And everything is a discount. So, I mean, if you think price is your answer, then you are being controlled by either the customer or by your competitors. So that is just something that you have to pay attention to. Yeah, so price
Yep.
is not the answer.
And as I was actually telling the group I was training today, discounting actually hurts you in the long run because if it's a recurring revenue service that you have to offer the customer,
Yeah,
they're gonna expect a discount every single
every
time.
single
Even
time.
if you have
Yeah,
delivered the value,
yeah,
they're gonna expect a discount, and that's gonna impact you in terms of your profitability.
very,
And the
very
reason
true.
why I want to make a profit is that that's how you get funds to reinvest into your business.
Hmm.
So you don't want to give out profits, or you get less commission depending on the company.
And let's as much as we talk in new sales reps here, we want to say this. This is also for new entrepreneurs, right?
Yep,
Um,
new entrepreneurs
because
and seasoned reps.
as new entrepreneurs, because we get in the business and we want to provide the services because it's our first customer that we get in a crack at. But we shortchange ourselves. I did that in the beginning. I sold my services for
Yep.
$2,000 to start, and when I finished, I was like, okay, now I know that I can do it. I need to charge more, you know, because I saw what the real work was that was, I was involved in it. So yeah,
Exactly. Fully agree. So good night again, folks. If you're not joining us, we're talking about mistakes new sales reps make, but some of these things could actually apply to current reps in the company. So if you're a manager, you've probably seen some of your seasoned and new reps making this mistake. So good night, everybody on IG. Good night, everybody on LinkedIn. Let us know where you're from too as well. And let me drop my point.
yep.
A big mistake a lot of new reps make is that they don't take time to learn their product.
Oh yes, product
And that comes
knowledge.
from two methods because one, the organization might not give enough training, but that's not an excuse. I think the reps should take it upon themselves to seek out the information,
Right.
right? That to me is super important because that product knowledge can actually help and aid towards you believing in what the impact can make for your customer. You don't
Hmm.
necessarily have to believe it could work, but it can you understand the impact for others,
Yep.
right? That's the key thing. So that's just me. I think if you don't have your product knowledge, it's gonna impact you, and especially if your environment is highly competitive, it's gonna be difficult for you to know how to compare yourself to customers and to handle objections when you're prospecting.
Right. 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 Cool. I love that. I love that one. Right. Product knowledge
Yeah.
is a big one. I want to. It's not as heavy hitting as product knowledge, but I think it's something that we make a mistake with. Making small talk with your own people. Yeah, and we can look at that two ways, right? So we make small talk sometimes to think as though we're kind of warming up the conversation, and you try to get into this unnecessary, how you doing and how the weather today and that kind of shippiness,
Yep.
right? Or you just get into small talk with somebody who's not the best fit. So looking at that from two angles. One, you end up talking to people who don't fit your product or service, or two, you're trying to make small talk to kind of warm up a conversation, but you're really making a mess of it. So sometimes you don't need to make small talk. You just really need to get to the point. You need to let your customers know, qualify quick, and move on, or just get straight to the point if you are calling somebody because your time is money and their time is valuable to them as well.
Exactly. And if you're enjoying these tips that we're giving, hit us some hearts, hit us some light bulbs and applause, whichever one you have. Let us know in the comments. I think that point is excellent, Lyndon, and I have proof of it
Correct.
because I am again in the company that I'm training right now. We had that back and forth with one of the reps saying they
Right.
like to open with how you're going, etc. And no lie, um, Amanda Crespo, which is Spanish Cafe,
Uh-huh.
she messaged me at time just saying, I found it so weird when a rep reached out to me and the first thing they asked is how you're going. And I'm like, but we're not friends. So why I want to
Yeah,
know
what
how
I
I'm
want to know.
doing? That's what
Right.
you need to understand. Your job is not to make friends with the customer. When you're
Yeah.
prospecting, your job is to qualify.
Right.
Like get it done. And like I'm running a poll on that on LinkedIn. I think
Right.
it's like 81% or more actually says no small talk,
No
get to your
small
point.
talk. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
lovely.
yeah,
It
making
brings up
small talk with the small your own people.
let's bring in this point then, because I want to bring points related to yours to make sure all complement. You must have confidence.
Ah,
A lot of new
yes.
sales reps, you lack be confidence. And let's
Right.
bring it back everything to be excited. Confidence comes from the fact that one, you don't know your product knowledge.
Products. Mhm.
Yep. Hey Bethel, you don't know your product knowledge. You don't know your ICP, so you're just beating around the bush and you find yourself stuttering around your words and everything.
Yeah. So I love that too because that actually ties into the two things that you said. Because if you don't have the product knowledge, you don't have the belief, and that you're not going to have a successful
Yep.
sales career. Let me add another one to what you just said. You don't know your industry, right?
Woo!
So if you don't know your industry, then you also, and when I say the industry, here are the 3 areas of the industry I'm talking about. You don't know your competition, you don't know your customer, and well, you already said you don't know your products. So if you're understanding your industry, then those 3 things are just as valuable for you to have a successful sales career.
Yep.
So
You don't
I
just
like
about your products.
I like how you dropped that one because I was able to align that one smoothly into it.
I'm trying to make sure all floats.
Yeah.
Here's the other one now. Let's jump into this one. You don't prospect daily
Right.
as a new rep,
Right.
right?
So,
You don't
right.
prospect daily.
Yeah.
And we all know prospect is the lifeblood of sales.
Of your business. Every
I mean,
single day.
I
Something
talk
has
to
to be
sales
going on.
reps. I talk to sales reps who always say, you hit target this month? No, what happened? Well, one customer then closed. I'm like, you're not supposed to have one customer impacting your targets.
Right.
Prospecting solves the problem. And so the thing is, you have to ask yourself, if I'm falling short on target, am I dedicating enough tasks to the lifeblood of what I do?
Yeah.
Right? Hey, HR, good night. So that to me is one of the key things you need to look at.
Right.
Is saying a great point here, better, faster, cheaper. These are your potential product advantages. If you focus on price only, you're only selling one dimension of your product superiority. You're
Mm-hmm.
also underselling, especially if you have a great product you believe in.
Right. Then bring up. I'd like to ask you to bring up Nissan's other point.
Oh yeah. In Australia, it's very common for business convos to start with a few minutes of small talk. Big lesson to me. Very different from an American style convo where time and agendas are fixed more
Fixed.
strictly. That's
Right.
interesting.
So culture.
I need to check the location for the people who respond to the survey because
Yeah.
honestly, a lot might be from America.
I don't know if I ever mentioned to you, JB, but I actually lost. I lost an opportunity earlier this year because of culture. The person told me that they didn't think that I would have been a good fit, even though they felt I could have delivered. They didn't think I would have been a good fit for their region, which is actually right here in Jamaica. So they decided to go with somebody else.
What? Because I lack of small talk?
No. No, they just felt as though, me coming from Trinidad and they being in Jamaica, I wouldn't have understood the things that they're experiencing. I just said, okay, I didn't really, to be honest, I didn't know how to respond to that. So I just said, all right, no problems.
I call BS on that.
Yeah. So
I can understand me. Best Nissan. If you ever looking
Best,
for anything
yeah.
in Massey, go to Candice Henry. That's the kind of reps we endorse.
Yeah.
Full stop, nothing else.
Yeah.
That's your choice.
Solid
That's
top
all the
performer.
choices.
Yeah.
If in Tobago, Denise Rice. If in Trinidad, Candice. But here's the thing, right? I think that's BS because yes, there's slight adaptations to make to a market. But if you look at the message of what you do, then they put it in the right context
Put
to
it
the
in the
market.
right
That's all.
context.
All the company needed to do is just give you a quick session on the culture and then
Yep.
adapt your training to the culture.
Yep.
That's it. Their do's and don'ts. It's like if you go and train people, like imagine if your clientele is like staunch Muslim people, you're not gonna be talking about pork or selling pork.
Yeah. And
Certain things.
Yeah, and if because I'll tell you why I didn't press, because when I started to ask a couple of questions, they started to backpedal, and it was like, oh no, well listen, we already made the decision. So she was really kind of trying to cut it off without having to ask any questions. So I said, well, you know what, thanks, and I just
Good for
actually
you.
moved on. So I'm not going to press to try to fight because they already made a decision, signed off, and went ahead. So me bringing that up doesn't make a difference anymore.
And the Sana's bringing up a good point. I know this with some of the Asian business people.
So he's saying in some Asian businesses you won't get closer to your partners there until you have a meal or at least a face to face with them. So
Yeah.
I really do love that cultural aspect as it relates to sales. I think that's something that we need to maybe explore as a deeper conversation too, especially now. Jared, as you know, many of us are, let's say you and I are maybe selling into different markets or appealing to different people, but we may not have gotten the full business as yet because, you know, people might be thinking the same thing. Yes, but would they fit in our culture? Well, you know, it's always something to explore. So I love that point from Lisa.
Nice.
Who's up next? I can go.
Yeah, you go.
So I want to say one that we have never, we've always been speaking of. So we can't leave it out. Not enough research. And when I say research, as it relates to your perspective. So in the beginning, we started off talking about doing your LinkedIn research, doing your Facebook research, doing your this, that, and the third. So your research is extremely important, folks. Just make sure you take your time and do your research first.
Yeah. I see, and the thing is not only research, but you don't do enough research to deep dive and understand what's the pain that a customer is trying to solve, even what's the opportunity you're bringing towards a customer that they're not aware of.
That's correct.
So that's one thing I think is important. I want to bring this one in. Let me see. You didn't take time to buy the best rep on the team lunch to learn from them.
Yes.
That's something
Yes.
So you join a team and you don't make it an effort to say, okay, who's the best person on the team? Let me go and take this person out to lunch or buy them coffee and ask them what are they doing right now to be successful.
Yeah. I think I was telling you earlier today that I did see something on TikTok where a guy from Australia he was talking about that as it relates to agents. So it was more so like a franchise, but he was really talking about why some franchisers in the real estate space was killing it. And he said that there was one rep that was doing something one way every single time, and what they should be doing is going to find out what that rep does and mimicking that for new franchisees. So you can say, well, if you want to be successful, then this is what this guy is doing or this group is doing. We want to say at least use this as a template, you know. Just to shout out, so like they can use Candice as a template in motors. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Candice, I will tell you, some people trying to use it as a template, but you set a benchmark that are real hard. Take my time.
No, it's not that, you know. And let's give some context. If you go and follow Candice Henry, she has an entire system and process set up why she's the top performing rep. I think a lot of reps don't want to do it because they have too much pride.
Yep.
That is the bottom line behind it. They have pride, and I'm not copying that. Right.
So good night to Gil.
Talking to the best rep.
Yeah, good night to Gil and Abraham. Yeah. You know, so I would definitely say not learning from the new reps is also a big one.
That's want to bring up another point here. Nissan is just mentioning Trinity Kings are small, so here's the thing. I think that's slightly changing. I found it successful when I get straight to the business on a prospecting call, like it was the initial call, and during the conversation, is depending on the vibe, is when you know what things they can actually talk about.
Yeah,
that's what I don't start off with small talk. That's just me.
Yeah. I agree with that, JB. I think if you ask a customer or if you try to take customers out or whatever it is, they might find that suspect, you know. Than making it. So I really think the culture has actually changed. Back in the day, it was that you could moisturize customers, but now you can't moisturize people.
And actually, that based also on the environment, because like for example, the type of customer sometimes if you're down south compared to if you're in the west, compared to if you're in the industry,
that's true.
All those things make a difference.
Yeah, Tobago. If you're across in Tobago, it's different, you know. So yeah. So I have another one. This one might sound silly, but it's true. Again, we talking just to kind of reset. We are talking mistakes that sales reps make, especially new sales reps. You're trying to sound smart, which kind of makes you sound stupid, right? So you're trying to use jargon that you yourself maybe don't understand as yet. You're trying to trying to make things sound all extremely technical or fancy, and really and truly, a customer is just a straightforward person. So you're really wasting time. And it's funny, as we say sometimes, Jared, when you try to go that heavy on jargon, you tend to lose the deal because the customer doesn't understand how that fits in their space. I've had customers, I made that mistake a couple of times. I've had customers say to me, we don't really need all of that, Actually, they need it. It's just I made it seem too big, of a thing. So
Yeah.
to them, hey, we just want to fix this. We really want all of that, and I didn't win the business because of that, because the customer felt it was bigger. So yeah, trying to sound smart, which kind of makes you sound stupid.
Look, Abraham is saying Tobago culture is truly unique when they understand it. It's beautiful.
Yes.
The client I'm talking about is one of my clients, is one of the clients from Tobago. I challenge them on that because I think there are some cases like, yes, there's some unique stuff. But if you look at what the essence of what sales is, and if you understand how to control your conversation, it still applies. The uniqueness and stuff, it could be overcome. I, I just think it's nothing that impedes. Like if you're like, in other words, if you're not from Tobago, that don't mean you can't sell.
Right. Right.
That, and that's what I think a lot of people do understand. No, you're not from Tobago. It's not the same name. It's like that's wrong. That's BS. I don't care anybody say I'll dispute you on that, Abraham. It's
Yeah.
unique, but it's not something that would stop anybody who's not from outside to sell.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Shout out to Alistair Gordon, also from Nissan. Shout out to RBD Productions as well. Good night to you guys on the Instagram side of things. You have another one?
Yeah. You don't get obsessed about your numbers.
Mm,
You don't
Yeah,
track and monitor your numbers.
Yep.
And that is super important in sales. So
Yep.
you start off in sales, and number one, you don't set goals. Number two, you don't put targets that you monitor on a daily basis to see what results you're getting, so that you can see what you need to improve on, what you need to get better with, and of course, that lets you know if you need help.
Right.
So monitor your numbers. Stop winging it. Winging it
Right.
don't work.
So I think I have one more on my list. So I think I sort of checked off everything here. And the last one that I think I have two more actually. The last one that I have is all product, no value.
What do you mean?
Meaning that they only sell the product, they're not really selling the value of having the particular product.
Oh yeah,
Right.
they just
They
feature
just,
them.
yeah, you just, exactly. So you're talking speeds and feeds, acceleration, the creature comfort features, but not really trying to understand or share the value of based upon the individual that's in front of you, like what's important to them, so yeah, I think that's a big one.
I
So
fully
all
agree.
product no value.
And that means you miss out on opportunities to cross-sell and upsell them, or you
And
can just
upsell,
give them the right
yeah.
product.
Yep.
Nissan is bringing up an important one too as well. He's saying, which I would, again, I like to dispute this because and as based on what he's saying, be aware of your accent, not to cut it, but in context of who you're speaking to. Someone came by and heard the live stream, non-native speaker, and couldn't decode our accent to catch your words properly. We
Mhm.
speak fast and use a lot of slang. If you're prospecting internationally, we should be aware of how our accent helps and hurts. Right. So in this live, it might sound bad. It's hard for me to keep talk slow or to use the proper language. That's just how I
Right.
am.
Right.
But if I'm prospecting to international clients and I'm sending videos, there's zero accent in my voice. I just speak at a slow pace because you know me
Yep.
and done. I speak extremely
Yep.
rapid.
Exactly. Yeah.
I listened to a replay the other day and I was like, ooh. Ooh. I was like, maybe I should not drink coffee. Maybe I shouldn't drink any coffee before I training because
Right.
I was just like,
Yeah.
I how to say them. But you're correct with that. But yeah. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that to an extent. It's just we have to control how we speak and communicate. I also think sometimes when I listen to certain Australians, I can't understand one hell nothing that coming out of their mouth. But again, just like
That's like exactly that's like Chinese who speak slang.
Yeah. I can't understand nothing. They might be making sense, but I just can't get it.
It's hard.
So
But that's part of it.
Yeah.
I have two other points too as well. Mine is they're not adopting technology into their sales process. So they're not using a CRM, or even if they have one, they're not using it to help them sell better. They don't have any other technology into their system. So like again, because she popped up on the feed like Candice Henry, she have every single piece of technology on her to help her sell better. Like if you're not utilizing those things, like calendar links, instead of having to let a customer go back and forth to
Back and forth.
to meet
Right.
you.
Right.
They're not using a CRM. You don't have video software, so when you're sending videos out to your prospecting, like trust me, it is a big thing. No, just to go back, I just want to drop in Gail's point. Gail says seriously, how can he be in sales and wing it? Yes, there are
True.
people today
Yeah, they're still doing
winging
it.
it. If you ask them how much you're selling this month, they don't know.
Yeah.
If you ask them anything related to sales, they don't know.
Yeah.
And these are
Yeah, they don't
experienced
know.
people who doing it, not seasoned. Sorry, not new people,
Not new.
seasoned people who
Yeah,
doing this as well.
yeah. There are a lot of people who are just they just came into the business. The business picked up. They decided to sell in a particular way, and that was it. They never really learned anything else about the business. And I also have to say too, that is a oh gosh, what's the word? It's a condemnation on the sales manager, on the leadership, because you are accepting that, and you're not driving for it to improve either. So
Yeah.
the sales leaders are also just as culpable where that is concerned. Um, I think, honestly, I don't think I have anything else. I was talking about talking too much.
I have one more.
I'm checked off. I'm gonna.
And let us know for everybody who's watching and for those of you now joining me, talking about mistakes new sales reps make. Um, my last one, Lyndon, is they don't practice. They don't take time to practice their
To
craft,
practice.
whether it's their introduction or their selling techniques or based on the product knowledge that they have learned, they
Right.
don't spend time practicing. And I think that's another mistake. Now,
Right.
as much as some people don't like him in the industry, I think Grant Cardone does a perfect example of showing why he does it because
Practice. Yeah.
his team does practice every morning and it's not like an hour. Like they take literally like it's like weird numbers too. It's like 7 to 13 minutes just to run through a scenario. Like
Mhm.
every day it's something new. So like today it's dealing with a specific objection that we get in. How am I dealing with that? And
Right.
role playing it with a
Yep.
colleague. Or how do I do my opening line when I'm prospecting? Like
Mhm.
you don't need to rehearse your whole sales process, but you have to practice every day so you can get better and better
Yep.
and better at it. So
Yep.
yeah. So those are my things.
So I think Gail has one other question where she says, "So how are they being paid? Not by commission." So Gail, I'll tell you this. Since I've been doing this, and Jared could also give his piece as well. I had to ask myself that same question because people have sales environments, but those sales environments are not structured like a proper sales environment. So
Yeah.
sometimes people are not making commissions, but they're being paid commissions. Don't ask me how, right? But it's either charitable or we just feeling kind. And this is sometimes across the region. So I've heard that in St. Lucia, I've heard it in Trinidad. Rewarding folks for not doing a good job. Hence the reason why we have poor culture.
Hey Sham, hey Garen, good night. Hope you guys are doing well. Sham,
Hey
I
Garen.
know all is well on your end. No, but here's the thing that I've seen, right, Gail? I have seen companies and I have this thing that I do. When I'm talking to companies and doing my discovery, this is a direct question that I ask that lets me know if it's a good candidate to work with. And sometimes I forget it, and I think that's why I had to stop the training the last time I was doing it. Right? I always ask companies, and I especially when the cameras are on, like there's an important thing to do, or you're face to face to them, you need to watch them
Right.
in their eye. When you're asking about a team and the performance is low, and they're telling you that people on the team who are not performing, right? And you know some of these people working on commission only or the base is low. So you're trying to figure out how they're surviving. I asked the question, why haven't you fired them?
Mm.
Like blatant. I was like, why haven't you fired them? And if the excuse from the company is a shaky one, that is a direct indication of the culture. You understand?
Yeah.
Because I am legit confused.
Right.
Like think about it. Like imagine there's some people not hitting targets and your base salary is 2,500. What you doing? How you
Yeah.
surviving on 2,500 in today's world? And if you want a comparison, anybody for external people, that's like under 400 US a month.
Hmm. You know,
And people, that's crazy.
yeah, JB, and this is just to share, as you mentioned that, it just took me back to now, Jared and I, we do some really tough sales discoveries, right? When we're talking about, like, when we're really trying to get to the meat and the matter with customers. So I do remember that there was one sales discovery very early in our careers, JB, where we went to a customer together and we just started to lay into this guy. It wasn't just to be, a pain in the ass to him, but some of the things that he was saying wasn't connecting. And we asked the question, so, but we said that that's your job. Like some of the things that you're talking about, that's your job. And I should be not. The guy's response was, yeah, well, guys, to be honest, I need help. I'm not doing a very good job. Because we pinpointed that the leadership was a big part of the issue. Out of everything else that he was talking about with the team and the this and the that, and it came back down to him because the things that we were hearing, it was, yeah, but this is what you do. That's what your title is. So why is it not even happening? And it came down to him saying, when we say this, we thought the guy sat back in his seat. He paused and he said, I'm not doing a good job. You understand?
That's the only manager, by the way, who's ever been honest.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
other managers just be like, the guy's the reps. That's the rep's fault.
Yeah, yeah,
Target, that's the rep's fault. I think the last survey I told you I did with a client is, or question I asked is, when last have you done sales training for your reps? And the person said 2 months ago, and it wasn't sales training, it was product training. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's
And
not
more than 50% of your team not performing.
yeah.
No surprise.
Yeah. But the reason why we're bringing that point up is Jared spoke about the discovery, and it is really important that we do proper discovery. Like, why is someone trying to buy a car? Why are they buying a home? Why are they investing in a solution? Why should they even buy from you? And if it is that they're showing an interest, you want to ask as many questions without going too far into it, but then to really identify what it is and then aligning what they want to what you could offer. So your discovery is extremely important. So good point there, Jimmy.
Yeah, and let me highlight for Instagram for the ones who not on LinkedIn. Nassan has just mentioned, and you could utilize a tool called Loom. You could record for up to 5 minutes when you're practicing just to see how you're sounding, how fast you speak, etc.
Right.
I have all my trainings and discovery calls recorded, so I could just press the replay and check it out, because you could use that on Zoom as well. And it kind of gives you a good idea. Like I said, it is very eye-opening to watch yourself. I have to work on how fast I talk.
Yeah. Oh,
I legit didn't realize it. Like, I would blame closed captions for not getting stuff right, and it's not closed captions. I speak too quickly. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
But can we use that? I don't know if this might be our last point, but let's just make sure we put this point here, that reviewing what we do, right? So you use your recordings. All of my meetings and training sessions I record, and I do two things with them. I either pull content from them, but I also listen to them to hear what I would have said. You know.
Yep.
So recording your recording what you're doing, whether if you're in car sales, you may not be doing recordings like on Zoom and stuff, but make notes about that last conversation, about the last transaction. If you are in solution sales and you're doing it online, record it so you can listen to it. Managers, emphasize it, share it with your team, because you have to practice. That's why sports teams watch tape, they watch film. So after they finish a game, the next day or the next couple of days before the next game, they are watching film. They're watching tape to see where they missed the gaps, even if they did well or when they didn't do well. So, go back, save those things and use them as part of your rehearsal, because they will help you get better. You would see for yourself, and you'll be able to change all of your own plays.
Yep. Hey, Custom, good night. So that's to recap, folks, because we're closing it off for the night. It wasn't a long one. It's just, as I say, talking about mistakes that new sales reps make. I'll run through the list, right? So, for example, they have no ideal client profile. They think price is the answer, so they always discounting. They're doing too much small talk with their prospects and existing customers versus the sale. They don't do enough research so that they can understand their customers' problems or their industry. They don't have industry knowledge, so they barely have product knowledge, but they don't spend time understanding what their competitors are offering and what the industry trends are. You don't prospect daily. You have a lack of confidence because you have a lack of product knowledge. You don't have belief in the products or services sell, and that's okay. But worse, you don't believe that the product can even have the customers that you're selling to, which is impacting how you sell. You're not adapting and utilizing. You're not adopting and using technology in your business.
Right.
You're not spending time with the best reps to learn what they're doing to see if you can duplicate or mimic. You're not tracking your numbers, so you don't understand why you might be performing one day good versus the other. You're not following any of the trends. You're trying to sound smart using fancy jargon and a whole bunch of things, but it backfires on you because it ends up either confusing the customer or you meet somebody who's smart who can tell you stupid.
Yeah, you're on BS. Yeah.
And that is always happens. And then, as Leonard said, the last point is you're always going to feature dump with customers. You never understand value. You just lose out all the features every time. And I experienced that just the other day too as well, but it's in a cell phone store. Like, outright feature dump. Like, let me just tell you everything the phone could do. I know what phones could do. All phones do the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see even then. You know, we have this come with a 8 megapixel camera. Have a massive a big 64 inch in the back. That doesn't tell me anything. That's
Anything.
not what I'm
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
for, folks.
Yep.
Like, so that's our point. I mean, you pause for a little bit as we wrap up. Let us know if you have any that we could always mention here in the live, because as I say, we both on Instagram and LinkedIn. So for those who's sharing it on Instagram, you need to share it to them back and vice versa.
yeah.
So
So Joshua Kazu, good night and thanks for joining. Madawada, thanks for joining as well. CS Bean, success, thanks for joining as
yeah,
well. You know, yeah, and I mean, you guys can always chime in after the fact to say, well, you know what, something you all mentioned there that I would have had some experience with as a young rep or what I see reps doing now. Because again, some of these things that we brought up here, they've been our experiences plus experiences that we see now that's happening. You know, so yeah,
yeah. And some experience reps to it, but that's part of it. The
yeah,
whole thing is that you need to continuously learn along the way, and you need to practice some of these key things. It sounds like a lot, but once you build it into your daily practice, it's nothing.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
So that's it for tonight, folks. Next week we back again.
yeah,
We're running into December, so I think we need to talk about how important December is.
yes,
That'll be the next topic. December is a really important month, folks. You need
yeah.
to like
It's not a
it's a good
vacation, man.
month to prospect. I think in December you need to actually increase your prospecting time
Mhm.
versus selling time. That's just me putting it
Yeah,
out there,
yeah,
and we'll explain why next week. So join
yep.
us. Thanks for joining in on this live.
Take care, folks. Peace.